Yeah.
Okay. And you talk to us a lot about, well, not only here, but whenever you're co-hosting with Compton and other streams, you talk about having a busy life. So what is the day, like a day in a life or a daily routine that Doran has?
The Dorjan life, the daily
Yes.
life. Well, it's about to change rapidly, as everyone knows who watches my stream. I'm just in the middle of quitting my current job. Nothing wrong with my current job at all. I just been offered. Well, I haven't really been. I have to move away, right? I'll put
Yeah.
that straight. There's a lot of things I'm not going to talk about on stream that
Mm-hmm.
has made me want to move away. And I've looked around for other jobs, and I have been offered a few freelance jobs, including paid to cast stuff. So that's why I say I'm a professional caster now, because I'm actually paid a wage to do casting. Right? That's where
Yeah.
that comes from. If everyone's curious, but on the other flip side of this is the current day. The current day is I wake up with my kids loudly trying to jump on my head or trying to wake me up because I'm a heavy sleeper and I stay up ridiculous hours trying to talk to Americans because you guys are 6 to 8 hours behind me, and that means I have to be at 4 in the morning for your 8 o'clock in the evening. So there's a good chance that I'll stay up to ridiculous o'clock just before I go to bed, or I'm watching stuff on YouTube, or I'm practicing my casting. And we'll go into that later. Then I have to go to work, and I work anywhere between 8 and 12 hours a day. Although I've cut that down a lot recently with my current job, which is a programming job. I currently work on Diablo 3, and like extracting the data files and decoding it and reorganizing it and all that sort of jazz. So it's one of those things that's very tiring. And if you're tired in that job, it makes it 10 times harder. You've got to be well rested for programming. And if you're not, you will waste days trying to do stuff that would take you minutes if you're fully rested. And that's something, a hard lesson I've learned over 4 years, where instead of just going home and getting some sleep, I would then spend another 8 hours trying to do this simple problem and taking me forever. Then I would come home, and within an hour have to put my kids to bed, eat my dinner, get a cup of tea, and start streaming. And I'll then stream for the rest of the night, or stream for a couple of hours and then go and practice some other stuff and deal with paperwork and organize this move that I'm doing, researching the computer. Then once all that's done, I have to deal with obviously the kids as they get up during the night and whatever they need. It's then you have to try and keep up with current events. I read the news sites like ingamers.com. I follow the Twitters of esports representation, like ESL, Day 9, Total Biscuit, them sort of people. Check to see what they're doing, what they're talking about, because you've got to keep on top of these trends. You need to know what's going on and how the other tournaments are going. Anything you know about the industry itself is really helpful for you. Not only that, if someone talks to you about it, oh, have you seen this going now? Yeah, I know all about that. I know who won that tournament. And it's not even to do with your games that you cover, but you need to know about them, because it's to be a caster, a proper caster, you need to know other casters. And it's if they recommend you because you're professional and you're talking to them and you're practicing. I know, you don't just get like this to just sit down one day and go, you know what, I'm going to cast, la, and no. See, there we go. I don't know. There you go. That's another thing for me. Children, they don't listen to you.
Yeah, it's okay.
And they will disturb you no matter what you're doing at no matter what your time. And that's why I don't play Dota 2 at the moment, because for an hour to not be able to stop. I know there's a pause function, but have you seen your teammates unpause? Yes.
Yeah.
Your teammates unpause. You're the carry and you're ahead by 2 levels. You pause it and say, guys, back in a second, got to deal with the kids. You come back, it's been unpaused immediately by your teammates, and you're now the same level as everyone else. And that advantage you had is gone. And then you go and lose. And then they blame you for pausing. And you're like, no, blame you for unpausing. But, anyway, what was the question? What were we talking about? I lost my stride.
We were talking about your current daily routine.
There you go. And then I crawl into bed and get usually between 4 and 6 hours sleep before, because I often go to bed and the kids have wet the bed, or they've been in my bed and wet that bed, because I've got 2. And then you got to find a space. If they haven't wet the bed, you got to find a space on the bed where you're not going to wake up the kids and you're going to get some sleep. Often I've woken up on the bedside table where I've been pushed out of the bed and I'm somewhere between somewhere, and I've woken up with a bad back and then I have to go to work and all that sort of jazz. But recently I've lightened my load for the move. I don't do the ESL. Today, Sunday, I normally do the ESL for 6 hours. I cancel Water Tanks ESL, but I've been cancelling that recently so I can get ready for the move. Thursdays, I do a show that normally lasts just 1 hour. On Tuesdays, we stream for 6 hours. On the Mondays, it's like 2 hours. And then any other shows that I do in between or help out behind the scenes. And then the paperwork to deal with it all and organize it between all the different characters that you have and all the personnel. But yeah, so that I would say is a daily life now. Soon it's going to be a lot more intense because I'll be flying all over the bloody world and I'll be working from home. So I'll let you know when it happens. But I think I know what it's going to entail.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going to actually switch on to for the next one, since you brought that up. I know it is a little far in the works, but do you actually have any conferences for the next year planned? As far as gaming conferences.
Lots. As World of Tanks representative, Wargaming, I went to many of their ones last year, or this year, I should say. I went to Gamescom, and I'll probably be going to Gamescom again next year. I went to Earl of Steel, which is their Russian one. I went to Moscow and was there covering that event. So I'll be going to all these sort of ones like DreamHack and all that sort of stuff next year. More than likely, all of them. As I'll be busy there, though. I mean, obviously, I'll try and make some time to hang out with people, but I'll probably be at most of the conventions all over the world, including America.
Nice. Is there any place in America that you've wanted to visit, per se?
Anywhere. You know what? As growing up as a kid, I heard about America. I saw American culture. I mostly watched BBC, so I didn't really get a show of your... A lot of people got exposed to America via your TV, and I guess my first experience of that would be Friends and that sort of jazz. And I kind of got scared of America because you guys are ruthless to each other in the sense of everything's commies and you don't like socialist stuff. You like no taxes and all that sort of jazz. And I come from England, which is a nanny state. So everything I'm used to, you guys don't like. And then you hear about the guns and violence, and our police officers don't have guns, you see, and all yours do. So that to me is freaky. I came back through Heathrow, and on our side, we have machine gun assault police officers on our side of customs. And I was so freaked out. I was like, what the fudge are our police officers doing with assault rifles in England? And it was enough to make me unsettled. But in other countries like Germany and stuff where you see it on a daily basis, it's not so bad because you're used to that in other countries. But it's really weird in England. You saw a weapon in England, it's freaky. You're like, whoa, that shouldn't be there. Even if it's a BB gun, it still makes you look twice. It's like, whoa. But in America, it's like, yeah, everyone's got one. Don't you? Yeah. What? But I do want to visit all there. I've got loads of friends in America, and I do want to visit all the famous places that you hear about all the time. And I don't mean like individual buildings, but things like LA or California. You hear about it in songs all the time. So what's the fuss about? Let's go see it. But I know that most places seem really good. Like Paris. You guys heard of Paris, right?
It seems really good, but it's kind of not.
Yes. If you go off any of the main streets, it stinks. It's scary. There's people throwing fireworks at each other. Anywhere off the main roads in Paris is a shithole. Literal. People pissing out the windows and all that sort of jazz. It feels like medieval time. It's ridiculous. But on the main streets, it's lovely. Ugh, don't tell me about Paris. I hate Paris. I'd rather move to Germany than France. And a lot of people in America still remember the Nazis. But remember, the Nazis was a political party in Germany. It wasn't Germany. Mm-hmm. We've all our countries have done bad things, So it's the sort of thing is they're really efficient in Germany. And it's really clean. And it's really nice for a European country. That and the Nordics. If I recommend anywhere for Americans to go is the Nordics, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. Go there and you'll have a completely different experience to what you're used to. Really good places.
Nice. And let's get ready. We're going to start closing the interview because I know it's been going on for a good minute. But let's start on the ending this with actual streaming itself. As you were talking about, how exactly... you just went and you were like, oh, okay, I kind of want to start streaming everything. Well, how did this, all fall into place for you?
The story of how I started.
Yes.
It happened in about 2 months, from zero to hired because of my casting, right? 2 months it took me. And I know it sounds like a story like, what, 2 months? Seriously, okay? I went to Gamescom this year, and that's where it all started. I was talking to Day 9, and I was discussing with him just a few things and telling him basically how I find him as a person. And if you've ever watched Day 9 or you know about him, Day 9's Daily 100 is a show you have to watch. If you're interested in casting, you're interested in professional gaming, that's a daily you should watch. It tells all about his story. And I was talking to him about how I just found his whole story and his work ethic. He really works hard at his job as an inspiration of how you can do it. If you want to do something, you can do it. And then I went up to a guy called Bump from Wargaming Europe, and he said like he's looking for a caster for World of Tanks. And I said, I can do it. I will try my best to become a good caster for you. And he's like, yeah. People say they're good casters, but they're not good casters, right? He's like, most people who say they're great and they're amazing aren't. And I said, I'm not great or amazing, but I'm going to be a good caster. He took that as kind of being cocky, but what I meant was that I am not going to stop at anything and become a good caster, because you can become almost good at anything you want if you put enough hours into it. Someone who's musically tone deaf can, if they put enough hours into it, become the best musician in the world. But you're going to have an easier time if you've already got a talent for it, or a good voice, or a good pretty face. Depends on what you're doing. I'm fortunate enough to have a good voice, and that's not me boasting. It's what everyone tells me, so that's the case, right? It's a fact.
Yep.
So I just did it, and I was like, okay, I first of all need, because I have a shitty computer. I'm trying to avoid swear words, but I have an absolutely terrible computer. It still had Windows XP 32-bit. It had 3 gigs of RAM. It was unstable, constantly crashing. It is just an absolute terrible machine. It runs Core 2 Duos at like 1.8 gigahertz each, and it was just not very good. It can't do anything. It can barely play games at all, let alone cast. So I tried casting for a while, and I just couldn't do it. So I found someone I know that had a good enough computer. They do a lot of YouTube videos, and I went up to him and said, look, I'm going to try and do some casting. Do you want to do it with me? We had a few beers, we chatted, and he was like, yeah, I'm really interested in doing some casting. I've never done it, but I'll do it with you. So we have a duo. I said, they're looking for one, so this is our opportunity. Let's do it. So let's do it. He lives in Denmark, capital of Denmark, and I live in England in a little village, or town. And we're going to become the casting duo for World of Tanks. Basically, that was what I told him. And he believed me somehow. I guess I just have that blag and swagger. So I just turned around to him and said, we're going to do this. And then for that next month, I guess, I was busy. I was going to Finland to visit some friends. And then I was going to Moscow to cover Old Steel as a behind-the-scenes sort of fan for World of Tanks. Not anything official. And I was going to do that in the next month. In the meantime, I managed to arrange everything with him. And that was dictating what we wanted and the style of the show. And this is all, I remember I've never casted before. Never casted before. And I'm going to be doing this via somebody else. So I was telling him what I needed him to do, and I needed him to set up, and what the shows are going to be, and when they're going to be. And we had to discuss it to and fro each other, blah, blah, blah. And then we just sat down and did it. And the first show was just, it went really well. We had a few mistakes. He's never casted before either. He's just done lots of YouTube videos, and we blagged it. And then I practiced. I watched Day 9. I watched a lot of stand-up comedians, and they show you how to present yourself to a crowd to make them interested in listening to you, no matter what you're talking about. You can be talking about anything, and you make it sound super interesting. And it's about the way you emphasize things, the way that you seem about it. If you are interested, and you're really interested in it, and you can portray that to other people, because the average cast is this, right? They're watching the most exciting thing in Airmet going on, and they're like, yeah, and the thing just exploded, and they managed to repel that attack. Yeah, and that bomber went down, and yeah, oh, that was unfortunate. And then they stay quiet for like 10 minutes. Oh, and then and they follow it, and the camera's fine, and they do everything else fine, but they're just not interested. It's like they're bored. And World of Tanks casters were all like this, all of them, and it's just like, really? Come on, just enjoy it. Show that you enjoy it, because then the crowd will enjoy it. If they're interested in you, you're like, oh my god, he just picked up that, and he just got destroyed with 2 long-ons on him. That's freaking amazing. He just lost 10,000 bloody credits, and then everyone cares. They're like, oh my god, that just happened. He's saying it happened, and it's really important. So it's happened. It's really important. They sit up and they pay attention. If you're bored, they're like alt-tabbed, and they're checking their Twitter, and they're checking their Facebook, and and then they're tabbing back, and they're not really watching. And you can actually, although you've got like 50 viewers,